Being into watches is a weird hobby because it attracts a lot of different people at a lot of different income and financial levels. There are so many times where I find myself doom scrolling through Instagram thinking, how on earth can they afford this? And this is one of the questions I receive the most in my comment section. I have found 5 reasons why it seems like people can afford these amazing watches, and there's probably more out there, so if there's anything you can add to the conversation or an insight you think needs to be out there, let me know in those comments down below. Thank you for your viewership. You are awesome. Reason 1 why it seems like people are buying these insane watches that you can't afford is that they made a bad choice. Now, before we get into this one, I want to say money and finances is an incredibly personal thing. Sometimes people in my family make a financial choice and I think, why on earth did you do that? That was so irresponsible. This makes no sense for you to buy. But I'm also 100% certain they think the same thing about me buying watches. So... At the end of the day, it is your money to spend how you see fit. It's you who goes into your job every single day to earn the money you earn. It's your money. Spend it how you want to. I always try to remember that we're only given so much time on this spinning rock in outer space. So buy the things that bring you joy. Buy the things that spark life into you. And I also don't want any of this to come off as judgmental. I always try to remember that I don't understand people's lives. I don't know how I'd spend my money if I was in someone else's shoes. So I hope none of this is judgmental. It's just my personal viewpoint. With that said, maybe this person you see with an incredible watch has made a bad financial choice. I have a friend who a few years ago went all out buying watches, like some real heavy hitting Holy Trinity pieces. We are quite good friends. I know what he does for work. I know his general income level. So I was pretty surprised to see this large leap in the quality of watches he was purchasing. So I asked, dude, what? How have you bought a Patek Philippe and a Vacheron Constantin in 6 months? This is crazy. What is happening? And he revealed that he recently broke up with his girlfriend. He wanted her to see how much better off he was without her. So he was buying all these watches out of spite. And it was also helping him feel a little bit better after a horrible breakup. He just needed a win. So he took on over £40,000 worth of debt to purchase these. So you really don't know how people are buying these watches or what their motivations are. The average UK debt is about £65,000 or $79,000 USD per household, and the debt owed by UK residents is rising. In the United States, it is even more bleak, with the average household debt sitting at $104,000, according to Experian. We live in a world where people can see your wealth through the clothes you wear, the jewelry you own, the car you drive, and these are status symbols that a lot of people chase. And they communicate something about you. But a lot of these luxury purchases are made using debt and credit cards. I'm not a finance guru. I try my best to be sensible, but I also think we should enjoy our money and spend it on the things that bring us joy. Live within your means and save for the big purchases you'd like to make. One of the redeeming things about watches is that you can always sell them in the future. You might lose some money. Well, you probably will lose some money, but a lot of it is still recoverable if something should happen and you want to sell. It's not like spunking a bunch of money on a luxury vacation you can't afford. So this was one redeeming thing from my friend who did indeed lose money, but ultimately sold his Vacheron Constantin and Patek Philippe, which is sad, but it was the right thing to do. Also, he got back together with his girlfriend, who's now his wife, and it's a happy story in the end. Something else that always leads to a happy story is stress-free, delicious meals. And this is where today's fabulous video sponsor, Factor 75, comes in. Yet another seamless transition, Brittany. But for real, one of my New Year's resolutions is to eat healthy, but with a newborn, work, just life in general, it's so hard for me to find time to create a proper meal. And this is what Factor does. So Factor delivers chef-crafted, fresh, never frozen meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. It's not just how easy their meals are to make, it's the convenience. Before Baby George, getting to the grocery store was hard and annoying, but now it's nearly impossible for me to find the time. Factor delivers delicious food straight to your door and takes the stress out of meal planning, prep work, grocery store trips. Plus, they have 35 meals to choose from per week with keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie options, and more. On top of that, when things get hectic, and they will, Factor is flexible. You can change your order up every week, or pause, or reschedule your deliveries at any time. Life is busy, but it's important to make time to eat properly, take the hassle out of cooking, and enjoy your food and meal times again with Factor. If this sounds good to you, if this sounds like something you need in your life, go click the link that is in my description, or I'll put it on the screen right now. If you use my link, use my code, you will get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. Get in! Clicking my link tricks them into thinking I'm good at YouTube, and will possibly trick them into partnering with me forever and ever. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring this video. Okay, reason 2. Maybe they thought they were making a good financial choice buying a certain watch. Kind of flowing from what we said at the end of number 1, one of the great things about buying watches and being in the watch hobby is that your watch will never be worth nothing. On 99% of watches you buy, you will be losing money when it comes time to sell, but you will probably get half of the retail price and often more. Right now, in 2025, we're kind of in the hangover of the pandemic and the massive speculative bubble that surrounded watches in 2021 and 2022. Secondary watch value ballooned, and during this time there were a lot of secondary sellers and kind of naive influencers saying, this is never going to go down, these are only going to keep going up and up and up. And that's just not how it worked out. People were buying stainless steel Rolex Daytonas on the secondary market for £40,000, Submariners for £26,000, and AP Royal chronographs were going for £50,000 during the height of all of this. So take something like the AP Royal Oak Chrono. These were going secondary for £14,000 to £15,000 in 2019. Then, 3 years later, it exploded to £52,000. It's easy when you're in the midst of a bull run to think it's never going to end. I think it's in our human psychology to make us think the good times are never going to end. The extrapolation bias is a type of gambler's fallacy that occurs during a bull market. Investors may expect stocks to continue to earn high returns based on previous events. For example, during a bull run, investors may expect stocks to earn high returns. However, a stock's past price trajectory doesn't necessarily influence or affect its future. This same thing happened with watches. In other words, people thought they were making a good financial choice. They thought these would only continue to appreciate, but we all know how this story ends. It's no problem losing money on a watch if you can, for one, easily afford it, and two, you love it, so you're not going to sell it on anyways. The problem occurs when people stretch their budget to buy a watch, thinking it's a great financial asset, because it's almost always not. Reason number 3, they are selling watches to fund new ones. Now, this is something that a lot of watch collectors do, and this is something that I'd say identifies someone who sees this as a hobby. I think because I don't sell a lot of my watches, people think I'm anti-selling, and I'm not. I'm just a hoarder who has a problem. As we talked about earlier, one of the awesome things about watches is that they are never worthless. Many collectors and enthusiasts will have a base collection and sell different pieces for different reasons. Maybe they aren't wearing a certain watch anymore, so they decide to sell. Or sometimes people who are far more disciplined than me set a number of watches that they will own, and once it gets above that threshold, it's one in and one out. Selling the watches you don't wear is a fantastic way to fund new watches and level up your collection. Maybe you have a few pieces that you never wear anymore, but you really wanted Tudor or Omega or whatever it is, and if you sold those pieces that you don't wear, you could easily afford whatever watch it is that you're wanting to buy. Something I should clarify is watches and finances mix weird, And a lot of it depends on how you value them. For some people, it is a hobby and something they are quite passionate about for one reason or another. So they will spend a disproportionate amount of money on watches because it's their hobby. For other people, watches are just a piece of jewelry that they want at some point in life. Maybe they want a Submariner because a lot of their colleagues have one. And this isn't a bad thing. I don't think we should treat this with contempt. But if you're at the enthusiast or hobby level, it is quite sensible to be selling pieces to finance other watches that you want to buy. Number 4, they have alternative income streams that you don't know about. One assumption I see a lot of people making is that your work wage is your only source of income. A lot of the time, when we are seeing people's watch collections and maybe asking what they do for work, there's a whole host of unknown variables that contribute to their financial lives. Maybe they've received a large inheritance or have family money. They maybe have some rental properties. They might have some stocks that performed really well or got in early on crypto. Their partner might be the breadwinner. I don't know. There are just so many financial factors beyond one's wage. This leads me to a little side rant here. I hate it when people, internet strangers, ask, "Can you actually afford these watches? How much is YouTube paying you?" Because, one, it is slightly rude, especially the way it's asked. I think you can tell and feel out the tone of a question. You can tell when something is asked with genuine curiosity versus malice and maybe a judgmental tone. And 2, some of my family's income streams are private. For example, my husband recently bought himself a pretty special Cartier tank. I made a video on it, and I had a whole host of questions asking how he could afford this. What a lot of people don't know is that my husband recently, last year, left the military after 24 years of service. In the UK, you receive a lump sum of money at the end of your service alongside your pension. I said to James, "It is you who served this time, not me. It is the end of your career. So you can spend this lump sum of money however you want. Get whatever you want. You don't owe me any answers." He chose to spend some of that money on this watch. He really wanted it. It's really special to him. And then he put the rest towards sensible things. I will never question him on that money. It's none of my business. He earned it. It's his. What I'm trying to say is that there are factors that you might not be aware of. Maybe someone had a family member who passed away. Maybe they made savvy investments. Maybe they have family money. Either way, one's watch collection can be explained beyond what they do for work. And final reason, maybe they just are a high earner and fair play. As I said earlier in the video, the watch hobby is a funny one because it attracts people at various income levels, which often reflects in the pieces that they can afford. Sometimes this makes people feel all kinds of different ways because talking about money and seeing wealth does make people feel weird. And I know this because I see what people say in the comment section, and it gets dark. For me, personally, I just love watches. I love seeing insane timepieces, whether I can afford them or not. It's exciting and it's awesome. I am more than happy to stay in my lane, be sensible with my money, make sure all of my family's needs are met first, and with whatever money is left over at the end of all that, purchase some awesome watches. To be honest, for me and how I grew up, I never thought I'd own anything with the name Cartier on it or Rolex. I love seeing insane, complicated Pateks and Rechappies. I'd love to own something insane and crazy like this one day, but honestly, I'm more than happy to stay in my lane. I already feel like I've won the lottery of life, just being able to collect any watches. I'm fine. Over these next few years, I'm going to be more sensible with my money, buy less watches. I have a son now, I'm saving for a bigger house, and I'd love to continue to grow my family. My priorities have just changed. But also, I kind of like financial constraints. It's had me looking more secondary and at cool neo-vintage pieces that to me are just as cool as modern pieces and a freaking bargain. But anyways, guys, I've talked long enough. That's the 5 reasons why it seems like people are buying better watches than you. If I missed any other big reason, let me know in those comments down below. Thank you once again to Factor for sponsoring this video. Go check out that link below. And now, let's thank the amazing patrons who keep this channel going. Get their names on the screen. Thank you to all the names on the screen. Thank you all tier patrons, but biggest thank you ever to the Pope tier patrons. I hope this video didn't come off any kind of way. Once again, I know talking about money and watches is always weird, but you know, they are linked. You can't unlink them because you can't. But this part of the video is not about explaining myself. It's about thanking these names. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I hope you keep enjoying the work that we do here. All right. Okay. Bye, guys.